Hey everybody, it's me. Oh, hi, it's me again. This is a few days or a couple days later. This is what I did already. You can see the glue all dried and it's all nice and sparkly. So I'm just going to keep going and say hello. It's very hot here today. I am upstairs where I will probably start melting fairly soon. So this won't last so long. But I don't want to stop working on this stuff because I want to see it. I want to see it through. Anyway, I hope y'all are doing well. I've been working with my union, SEIU, to send links to sign up to vote in Michigan today. So I've done quite a few, and only a few of them are saying, screw you, libtards, voter fraud, because they don't know how impossible that is. But in case you don't know, in case you're family and you think that it's true, I have to tell you that if you think that's true, then you must think that the IRS does exactly the same thing, and that every other government agency does that exact same thing. But to my knowledge, to my experience, the only organizations that actually get away with that are privately owned and privately run.
I know you've heard about the kids on TikTok,
Hang on.
right?
Okay, that was the really lovely lady who is renting a front room for me. She was desperate for a place to stay because circumstances fell out and she had nowhere to go. She's turned out to be one of the best people. One of the best people. And one of the reasons why I know that there are still good people in the world. So what was I talking about? Yeah, so just sending out information to people about how to sign up in Michigan to get vote by mail, and some people don't really seem to understand it, but they know it's fraud, and I have to assume that they're letting someone else tell them what to think, because voter fraud is as impossible as having multiple people file with the IRS under the same name and social security number and signature, etc. And we've had mail-in votes for a long time here in Washington State. And even before that, when I had to send an absentee ballot request in, the only time we ever had notice of voter fraud was when a Republican woman was working in the elections office and changing ballots. And that's not to say that Republicans are dishonest, but I do say that it seems to be typical, or not typical at all, common, for people who get all excited and upset by Sean Hannity and think that the world is coming to an end because of some ridiculous conspiracy, that they have every right and every good reason to lie and manipulate the system because they believe that terrible things are coming. And they don't look at the amount of times Sean Hannity has lied and then claimed that he didn't. And even when there's video evidence. And I'm not talking about the video evidence that Patriot boys here in Vancouver, they go to rallies, they harass and abuse the people who are fighting against fascism. And then some of the people who are fighting against fascism get way too overheated. And so what Joey Gibson and his friends do is they modify the videos. They do all sorts of cut and paste, and it's obvious. They're not very good at hiding the manipulation that they're doing. And I've actually been at a place where a young man was being harassed at work because he was Middle Eastern, dark-skinned Middle Eastern specifically. And management told him, you can't be so sensitive, this is ridiculous. And the fact is, you can only take so much, and having to deal with it every day from your manager, not acceptable. So we were there to talk about it, not talk about it, but just to protest, just to be there. And Gibson sent a bunch of tweakers. I don't know if you know what tweakers are. They are people who do a lot of street drugs and are really physically and mentally unstable at that point. Anyway, he sent them there to disrupt. And one of them showed me one of the videos to prove that Antifa is a terrorist organization. And it was so heavily edited that I just looked at them and said, well, gotta go. If they'd had a valid point, sure, knock me out. But there was no point. It was obviously manipulation, and it was abuse of my time. Anyway, but I gotta say, why do people do that? Why do they say that they're good people and they're honorable and they're honest, and then if the opportunity rises up for them to manipulate things in their favor, they take it? There's no honor among those people, and that's not everybody, certainly not me. And I'm very happy to say my kidlets are the same. By kidlets, I mean my sons. They're very honorable men. And anyway, so this has been a day fraught with drama. But I am just keeping on. Ugh, these things are hard to deal with, they really are. I don't know why I do it. Anyway, I'm trying to let people know how to vote by mail so that they get a chance to vote, because people who want to vote by mail aren't necessarily doing that because they're too lazy to go to the polls. Some of them are doing that because they're disabled, or they have a rural address and there's no place to vote nearby their home. Or like a lot of people in Georgia, there's only one place to vote and you end up getting turned away because the polls close before you get a chance to get to the front of the line. So there are very good reasons to vote by mail, since it is trustworthy and it is extremely valuable, and it's also financially a lot more reasonable than holding a poll open and printing out all those ballots and having security there and whatever else they do to try and make sure that everything is on the up and up. It's been so long since I've had to vote in person that I don't really know. I do know that I've had one of my ballots kicked out in Washington State because I signed it, my full name, when I first registered, and then a few years later had switched over to just initials and last name and signed my ballot that way. So they kicked it out. They said, your signature does not match what's on our files. So I know for a fact that, yeah, they check those things. And if you want mail-in ballots to be honorable and honest, then I encourage you to participate in making sure that happens. But not like that woman at the Vancouver, Washington elections office who decided to change other people's votes in order to get George Bush a bigger piece of the pie. Anyway, last week we had somebody in the union come out and take pictures here because they need pictures of caregivers who are working as caregivers, which I am one. I'm limited now because of all my disabilities, but I can still take John to the doctor's office and help with his, conversations with medical staff. Sometimes he forgets, so it works out well for him, and I keep notes. Anyway, but he has two caregivers here because there are so many things that why is that not happening? There's so many things that I can't do anymore. I've had to bring in somebody else to help him. So they came out, took photographs of she and I and the client. And at one point he even had us go back and down into the backyard, which by the way is a verdant forest. Not a very big one, but It's freaking gorgeous. Anyway, and this past winter, I had a tree fall down, and it was incredibly huge. It went across my yard, my next door neighbor, and into the next door neighbor. Anyway, so that was a lot of dramatic photography opportunities. And he said, oh yeah. So we went down and took pictures inside the forest and then up against toppled trees, and much fun was had. I have yet to see them, but it'd be fun if I get to post some of them. And I will if they're not too bad. So that was that. Anyway, you can see what I'm doing. The way I do these is, this one kind of happened just because these were the colors that I had the first time I did one. And after that, I decided, well, maybe I should do, designs. So I used gold and yellow, bright yellow, to make a sun, with the halo around the stem, and then rays going out from there. And I did an Art Deco one, and I then did a green vine snaking around the base with flowers on it. That one's a popular one. And what else? Just one that's really simple. It just has very small golden topaz just on the very outside rim. A little bit, not uniform, because I'm not a very uniform kind of person. Anyway, my hands are starting to shake again. I think that means it's getting too hot. But yeah, for a person like me, I can only do certain things for so long. When I do them, I focus like a maniac. And then when I'm done, I'm done. And I have to stop for a bit. And I have no interest in picking it up again until my brain, relaxes, unfreezes, gets interested. So I do have other ideas for other designs that I'm going to do. I'm thinking about how I can do how I can do a flame using yellow, orange, and red. And I think it might have to go around and then come around and then come up the stem a little bit. It's going to be interesting. Anywho. But yeah, that was something that the kids and I all agreed it'd be really fun if we could get some flames. The vinyl you can stick on your car. Just for the fun of it, because we had this, suburban van, mom van kind of thing. Not a suburban, but, just a soccer mom van, I think is the right word. And it just would have been fun. But we never did find a place that had it. That was before I started using Amazon. I bet you I could find that now. Anyway, yeah. So I understand that we are still in a moratorium on different things here in Washington State. And I do know that, I believe it's Yakima, meat processing plants, they've agreed to start testing because people walked out. They weren't getting protective gear. They were kept too close to each other, and they were having record numbers of infections of COVID-19. So everyone walked out. And finally these, gigantic agricultural farms said, oh, okay, but we will give you PPEs, we will get everyone tested, but you are not allowed to report the results of the tests, which is interesting. And I don't understand it unless it's to support the idea that this is all just a hoax, even though they know damn well it's not. They want to make sure everybody still believes it. God, I sound like a conspiracy theorist. Honest to God, I don't think that I am. Anyway, but logically, I can't think of a reason why you'd want to hide the number of infections if you're willing to continue giving people tests. Why do you want to hide how many of them have it? So I just got to figure it's fitting somebody's agenda. Although I have to say, having worked with a lot of these CEOs when I was in financial print, we saw the things that they were trying to get away with at the SEC, and that the SEC would catch them at. And we know they're not really all that bright. They hire very intelligent people to do their thinking for them, but they themselves are not all that bright. And it's very telling that their short-sightedness, like pushing to make sure they don't have to pay taxes, which means we can't get to our jobs to help make them wealthy if we can't go over the roads that they're refusing to help pay for. And if they're refusing to help with the social services that their workers need, or the health care, in order for us to continue getting to work and helping them be the billionaires that they are so happy to be. It's very short-sighted. It's very ignorant. And I'm sure they have experts who are telling them the economy doesn't work that way. But that doesn't mean they're going to listen. Anywho. This morning, I watched a video by Nick Zentner, who is a geologist at Central Washington University. He's doing live streaming now during the pandemic, and almost daily, although they're about to take a vacation. And yesterday rather, he did one on Yellowstone. There's a hair in there. Yellowstone. Because there's been so much talk about when is that volcano going to go. And he's pointed out that, sure, 20 years ago, we thought it was this old, and therefore, since we'd already passed that last date of eruption, moving forward, that we're overdue. And he said, no, truth is, we've gotten much better at dating. We've gotten able to be more specific, more exact about the dates. And now we know that the dates are 40, 50,000 years off from what they used to think that it was. And anyway, so I thought that was really nice, because just recently I had a conversation with my brother, and we were both like, yeah, it could go at any moment. And sure, the sun could go out at any moment, but there's no point in getting panicked. In Washington, over here, all the way out to the coast, we'll end up with a huge amount of ash. An inch thick, but we're well outside of the zone of death, which is quite large, to be honest. And we are further out from the several inches of ash. All right, I got that wrong. God, I hate it when people get it wrong. Sorry, it was a 2-hour thing, and I was also texting people with links to how to sign up to vote in Michigan, so sorry, I apologize not having the details correct. All right, kids, I think that's as much as I can do now. Anyway, I hope I haven't bored you guys. These are all, they aren't my opinions, they're understandings plus opinions, and I encourage you to check out my details and let me know if I've gotten any of them wrong, or if you've got a different source that you find credible. By the way, Breitbart, Sean Hannity, they are constantly having to correct themselves and then pretend that they never said that in the first place, even though we all have clear videos and memories of them doing exactly that. So remember, wash your hands. Be wonderful to each other, and party on.